Ahoy! He's Straw, I'm Parker, and together we are the Battle Hammer. Do. Yeah, another episode of Parker Paints. Today I'm going to be trying out some OSL, Object Source Lighting, which sounds very fancy, but really it's just a glowy thing. I think Object Source Lighting, so lighting would be on any miniature. You know, they're standing there and they're brighter at the top and they're shadowed in the crevices, and that's just like natural lighting, right? Or it might be from a different angle or whatever. But object source lighting is the source of the light is an object on the model itself. So glowing eyes, a glowing sword, like a lightsaber or something like that. Got two models from Mythos. We've got the Angler, who's got like a dangly, glowy thing, and I'm going to do glowing eyes on Click-Clack, who's a giant crab. It's not something I've mastered by any stretch of the imagination. I've tried it a couple of times and it hasn't worked how I'd wanted it to, but we're going to try it out now and see how it goes. So on with the next bit, apparently is the thing I say. Right, so here we are at the desk. First up, we've got the Angler. I've already painted him pretty much to completion, almost. It's just the OSL I want to do here. Now, unsurprisingly, this little doobly blop is the thing that I'm going to be having the object source lighting come from. So I've painted that white already because that's I want that to be my brightest point. And the light, you kind of got to imagine that if that's the light, then everything in a circle around it is going to be lit up. So I'm looking to highlight these points on the face that are closest to the dangler. I went in with Rakarth flesh at first, so I've now added some was it pale skin from Scale Colour, because I've used that pale skin on the other models as well, so it will keep my little faction group, posse, team, whatever you want to call them, it will keep them you know, in line with each other. Matching, I think is what people say, right? Using my trusty Rosemary & Co. What's that, Series 33, size 1, and I've got a mixture of Rakarth flesh and Scale 75 pale skin, as I say. So I'm just thinking about where the light is going to catch. Now I'm no expert. I'm definitely no kind of, I don't have lots and lots of knowledge about how light affects things around it and whatnot. I'm just, doing what I think I can that makes sense to me. So we'll start with, the forehead, cheekbones, big old goofy top lip, and I might pull it back a little bit further. I've got quite a thin consistency here. Because that's the sort of thing I'm going for. These little chin bit and these little sub danglers, I guess. And if I make a mistake, I can just wet my brush and wick up any extra paint. Because the key is, so I'm doing object source lighting, right? So I want to make it look like his face is lit up. So I really need to make the area that's glowing lighter than the rest of the model. If you're painting a bright pink character who's maybe like got a fluorescent outfit or something, it's going to be very hard to get the contrast. It's not just about contrast of colour, it's about contrast of temperature or value as well. So actually this might not work as well as I'm hoping. Obviously he's definitely lighter at the front than he is at the back, but see how it goes. Like I say, I'm no expert. This is not me saying this is how you have to do it. This is just how I'm doing it right now. The other way, of course, is you could... I've basically almost finished it, and now I'm going to try and put in OSL after the fact. What you could do, if you were more with it, is you could try and almost build the OSL into how you're painting the model. But that is probably more difficult and would require more of an understanding on how the light is going to affect things. I'm just pulling these highlights back a bit more because I don't know quite how big I'm going to do this glow effect just yet. I'm trying to do this so you guys can see it, but it's not super easy. Next to me on my palette, I've also got a straight pale skin, also with a smidge of white. I normally wouldn't go to white, but I figure I'm adding it rather than using it as a base colour, and it is going to be a, you know, what's the word? You know, I'm going for that kind of effect of OSL. So I figure I do want to go as light as I possibly can. You know, I really want to push that contrast. And I'm only going to make it kind of really around, just going in under its dangle a bit, because obviously that would let some light hit that area as well. Because I do really want to make it look like brightness is the front of his face. And we know he's a him because he's got some little testy balls and a little winky under there. I don't know if I should congratulate them or be a bit weirded out by it. And also, if you want kind of light to hit it, you kind of want to push that contrast more. You think if you've got one light, I'm using 3 lights here, but if I turn 2 off just for now, because you can now see where the light's coming from, that light is really hitting the I guess his right side. I don't know which way you're looking at it. You might be looking at it the wrong way around. No, it's right side, I think. And it's very dark on the other side, right? If the light was more diffuse, like your standard lighting of the sky, it would look more well lit all over. So that's kind of a you know, if you're doing OSL, you really want to show that the light is close and intense. So you really want to emphasise those highlights and shadows. And I may well come in, once I've done this, and push some shadows in there. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to keep pushing this up to white, and I will kind of get back to you when I'm done. Right, so I've painted his face kind of as white as I want to go. I don't want it bright white, but you can really tell that there is a bit of a glowing effect at the front of his head, where I've highlighted all the way up to white. So now I've got some FX Fluor Techno Green, I think it's called, Techno Green Fluor Experience from Scale 75. Any fluorescent paint is good for OSL. Doesn't really matter what brand or what type you use, just find one that you like the vibe of. It really does help push. I mean, you can just use a colour, you know, you could just use a very bright lime green type colour, but I have found that the fluorescent paints really do just give that extra level of pop, especially on a gaming piece rather than, you know, I guess if you were like a professional painter type display painter, then you can probably do without, or you wouldn't need one because you'd know. But I really like the pop of a good fluorescent paint. I've thinned it down, not massively, because they're quite translucent by nature. So to begin with, I'm just going over his little dangly balls, his dangly front balls, not his testy balls. Just to give that kind of green glowy vibe, just to get an idea of what I'm going for. And you're more than likely going to want 2 or 3 coats of this, just because it is so translucent. One thing is you do want to be careful it doesn't end up washing into the crevices too much, because, you know, they're not glowing. Unless that's the effect you're going for. You may well be going for a glowing kind of light. That's those done. So now I'm going to just kind of glaze, not all the way around his face, but, you know, a good portion of it. And again, I'm not too worried about the crevices. And what I may well do, maybe I'll thin it down a bit more as I move away from the area of brightness. I might just, you know, clean my brush and feather it out a little bit. And yes, when I say clean my brush, personally I do, you know, I do often lick my brush, which you probably shouldn't do, but you know what? You only live once, right? Unless you're some sort of superhero, or we believe in reincarnation, which is, you know, fine. While we're on the subject of religious tolerance, can I just say, as a personal thing, can we stop using the word tolerance? Can we use acceptance, please, to anyone who's listening? I think the idea of tolerance suggests you put up with other people. Like, yeah, I tolerate the fact that other people have different opinions to me. Yeah, I accept it. Acceptance? That's cool. I've accepted it. I've dealt with it, and okay, that's just a part of life. Just don't like the word tolerance. It's got such a negative connotation. That'll be the end of my ramblings, I think, but just thought I'd let you know. Okay, so I'm going on with a second coat over the danglers, to really help that colour pop. You can, the trick I think with object source lighting, and again it's not something I know a huge amount about, I'm just literally doing it for this tutorial because I need to paint these dudes, and I thought I wanted to try something. I am in no way saying that I am knowledgeable or expert or anything like that. You don't want it to look too, not too bright, I just mean it can be a thing where it can kind of just take over completely. If the glow is too big, if you like, it totally takes over the model and it stops being, oh, a cool glow effect, and just like, well, it's half green, which is kind of less impactful in my mind. Okay, so I've re-emphasised his dangler glow. I'm going to re-apply on his face a little bit, really pulling the pigment towards the area where I want to emphasise the highlight. And the great thing about these fluorescent paints is because they're translucent, you do still see a little bit of what's underneath. And maybe I'll go a bit further out. And glaze in around the rest of the mouth and the teeth. These little bits, you know, not lots, you don't want, like, because you really want to emphasise this area where it's closest. And with any luck, because of the translucency, you can still see a bit of the colour underneath, which I think really helps if you're going over, let's say you had a lightsaber glow and he had brown gloves and a yellow top or a blue top. Because of the translucency, you're then getting a different value underneath the fluorescent, so it kind of emphasises that glow. So I think that's almost done. I don't want to go too crazy on this. You know, it's up to you, obviously, how much you want to push it. I think I don't want to make it too much. You know, it's supposed to be just a little way to draw attention. And you've got to be mindful of how light acts. Light, you know, in the fundamental level, will not pass through things. So if things create shadows, yes, you'll get a bounce around of light and whatnot, but if you do or don't highlight a certain bit, it might look really weird. If you've got, like here, where I've got the lip, I really should highlight those teeth a bit more, because everything within a certain distance should be highlighted the same amount. But also being mindful that I don't want to go into the crevices too much, because that can look a bit weird. And I do recommend as well, something maybe it's just anecdotal to me, I don't know if it's science, but I do recommend finishing the model if you can, and if you're using the fluorescent paints, whether they be Scale 75 or Vallejo or whoever, varnish the model, then put the fluo on, because the fluo may well interact with light in a certain way. think I'm pretty happy with that. I might want to just, you know, hit a couple of more points just to, you know, you don't want the line between lit and not lit to be super harsh. You want there to be a nice blend. I mean, in this case there will be a light on his lip because that is where the light is. I think I'm pretty chuffed with that. Yeah, now hope that that looks like a glow effect, like an OSL glow effect, rather than just makeup. But I guess we'll see. You know, that's not for me to say, really, is it? That's for you to say. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera because I've got quite bright light here. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of that. I'm pretty chuffed with that. That's come out all right. Next, I'm on to doing Click-Clack, so I'll see you in a moment for that one. Okay, so here we have Click-Clack, who is a giant crab, as you can see. Now I've done the highest highlights on him so far are pure Deathclaw Brown, and that's just a general, the general highlight over him. So now I'm going to add some secret weapon. Oh, is it weathered wood? Yeah, weathered wood. To lighten it up because I've been using that across my hidden ones quite a lot. And then as I do the highlights, I'll go into some white as well. Again, got the old trusty size 1 from Rosemary & Co. And I want to make the eyes look like they're glowing. So the eye itself I've already highlighted from a green up to a white. But now I'm going to make sure that all around the eye is highlighted up. This is going to be a bit tricky to show on camera, I'm afraid. I'll do what I can. I may well have to use a different brush for this actually. Because although I really love my Rosemary & Co. Series 33 size 1, I have used it a lot, and I have got, it's not in the same glorious condition it was when I bought it, so because it's kind of been my workhorse brush for a little while, I'm actually going to go in with a size 1 from Artist Opus Series S, because that is the best point I have at the moment. I'm going to try and highlight around, oh dear, nearly made a bloop. Try and highlight around the eyes. Because that's what I'm going for. I'm going for a glowy eye effect thing. We'll see how well it works. And obviously, as with the angler, I'm trying to highlight. You know, the higher highlights are going to be closer to the eyeball. I do still want to leave some shade in there, just not a lot. this is going to be a bit trickier, I think, because it's definitely a fiddly area to get my brush into. And I'm going to have to highlight these muscles as well, not as in muscles as in biceps and triceps, but literally the bivalves, I believe they are they not? Let me know in the comments down below. Mussels are, you know, they're mollusks, aren't they? So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a slightly different colour to highlight those, but I do still want to get that really high highlight on them, because they're going to be lit up by the OSL as well. That's a choo-choo train. So I'm going to crack on with this for a little while, and I'll let you listen to the chilled out music. Okay, so as you can see, I have made his eyes very pale, very white. I decided not to do kind of gradual highlights on the muscles. I figured they'd be shiny, so I tried to do some bright white sharp highlights, which came out okay, I guess. So now we've got the same green glow, partly because I want to keep it with the same theme, and also because they're both connected to the in-game, in stat-wise, they're connected to the Dunsmouth Witch, and she's going to have green glow effects, and they're going to have green glow effects, so it kind of brings those three models together. And I'll show you on the spinny thing at the end. So again, I'm going to go in with the green, and similarly I'm going to, you know, do a light glaze over the whole eye area, and then repeat the glazes as they get closer to the eye itself. And kind of as I was saying with the angler, I don't want to get too much in the crevices. I really want it to be a glaze rather than a wash, so it changes the colour of it without it kind of sticking in the recesses. Because I think with OSL it's very easy to just highlight an area and then paint in some green. I mean, some people, you know, will use an airbrush, and that's fine, that's totally acceptable, especially because with an airbrush you can get a kind of a nicer vibe to it sometimes. But what you don't want to do is end up with it just being a green blob. You want it to look like a light effect, like a glowing eye or whatever it is that is glowing. So you don't want it to get into the shadows too much and be highlighting effectively the wrong bits. And again, you want to make sure you're aware of your light placement. You don't want to lose the detail. If you, I've done it before, and it just looks like a green blob. It doesn't look like a glowing light effect. So you want to make sure you're not kind of going into the shadows too much. Wicking up any excess as you feel you need to. Painting's a bit like adding salt in cooking. You can add it, you can't take it away. I mean, you can take it away. You can repaint the model if you want to, but I mean, once you get a, less is more kind of thing, I guess. So I'm just going to crack on with this, and hopefully by the time I'm done, it won't look awful. So here we have the finished OSL object source lighting / glowy parts and the finished Hidden Ones project. Yeah, not gonna lie, pretty pleased with how they came out. This video probably wasn't quite as long as the other ones have been. This is episode 3, so I'm still working through things and deciding how it's going to go, whether it's going to be long form, short form, but I'm going to try and keep going with these. If you've enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments down below if you've got any hints and tips for OSL, if you've got any hints and tips for me as a video producer, or painting tips or anything else. Just make sure you leave some chat in the comments. If you want to help out the channel, we've got a Patreon account, we've got various sponsors you can buy stuff through. That's great as well. But if you want to help us in the most direct route, then Patreon is obviously that. But if you do nothing else, if you watch this video and think, hey, that was alright, I want to help these guys, but I want to do it with the minimal amount of effort possible, you just make sure you do this. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and want to subscribe. If you don't like it and don't want to subscribe, you don't have to like and subscribe, but we would like it if you liked and subscribed. And until next time, stay hammered.